This is part 2 of for discussion of practice sheet 2. So let us make a few of the corrections from the part 1. Okay, the first correction is here, this what we have mentioned, that phi dash of x here, if you look it here, phi dash of x is an increasing function. So if you can see, there is nothing given regarding the value b, but we know that this b is remains a fixed constant. So depends on the sign of b, you can conclude that if b is less than 0, you can conclude that phi is decreasing, and if b is greater than 0, you can conclude that it is increasing function. Okay, and then rest of the things are fine with this problem. So we don't know what the value of b here, so b is a constant, but we don't know whether b is greater than 0 or b is less than 0. Okay, so this is only we have the information, so we can't just straightforward that p is increasing function, or it's greater than 0 or less than 0. Okay, it purely depends on b. It purely depends on b. Okay, so this depends on b, value of b. Okay, so this you should keep in mind. Similarly, for the second problem, from the second problem also, it purely depends on the value of p. Okay, so it also depends on the value of b, that phi is increasing or decreasing. Okay, so that you can use as an additional property to show that phi actually maps I into I, and choose delta in such a way that, okay, so choose delta in such a way that minus a does not belongs to I. Okay, right. Okay, so these are the corrections here. Okay, right. So let's move to our problem. Okay, problem number, what we were solving was this problem number 10, right? So we have seen the secant method here, so we don't need to worry about any step here. So I have, what is improvised here is, we have given the actual number, what are the values. So x2, if you have calculated the x2, okay, so that is given by minus 1.5, and then you must have to calculate f of x2. Okay, you must calculate f of x2 for the next step. Okay, so what it is f of x2 is f of minus 1.5, that is minus 7.969, that you can use that you can get by using calculator. Okay, and then you know all the entries on the right side of x3. Okay, on the right side of this, you know all the values, so you just substitute, and what you are getting is a 0.0361 for the x3. Now for the next step, what you require is f of x3. Okay, what you require is f of x3, that is actually calculated now. Okay, so that is here, f of x3 is approximately equals to 3. Okay, so once you calculate this function evaluation, then you can actually calculate x4, which is nothing but minus 0.384, if you calculate it correctly. Okay, and now you can also see that what is the f of x4 value. Okay, what is the f of x4 value is 2.94. It is again almost near to 3. Okay, and but x4 is very far from x3. Okay, so that you can also see, but we are supposed to find at least 3 iterations, right, for the secant method. Now next move to, let's go to solve by using the same problem. Let's solve the same problem by using regular falsy method. Okay, so what the regular false is, so for the given, so what is the given here is f of x is x to the power 5 plus x cube plus 3. Okay, what is given is x naught is minus 1, x naught is minus 1 and x1 is 1. Now if you recall, what is the value of f of x naught? F of minus 1 is 1 and what is f of 1 is 5. Both are of same sign, right? So this will leads to f of x naught into f of x1 is greater than 0, right? So you can't determine that, you cannot apply Bolzano's theorem here and make guarantee that the root lies in the interval x0 to x1. So you need to refine this values, okay, and you have to start with values where the root lies or where you can apply Bolzano's theorem. Okay, so if you choose x0 equals to minus 1.5 and x1 is equals to 1, we have seen, right, f of minus 1.5, we have seen what is the value of f of minus 1.5. If you recall from the second method, that is something like minus 7.969, so this is less than 0, and f of minus 1 is greater than 0. So root certainly lies by Bolzano's theorem. So you can apply Bolzano's theorem for this case. Bolzano's theorem gives guarantee that root f has a root in minus 1.5 to minus 1 is interval. Okay, so you are going to start with this pair x0 equals to minus 1.5 and x1 equals to 1. Okay, so with this, what is the value of x2? So you have all the values with you. Okay, so n equal, so let's write what is the regular falsy method is xn plus 1. What is the formula is xn plus 1 equals to xn minus 1 f of xn minus xn f of xn minus 1 divided by f of xn minus f of xn minus 1. Okay, so now what is the value of x2, because n equals to 1? So you have all the values here, right? You have x0 is minus 1.5 and x1 is minus 1. Okay, right, so that is equals to x0 f of x1 minus x1 f of x0 divided by f of x1 minus f of x0, right? So now substitute the values here. So that is minus 1.5 time f of x1. What is f of x1? F of minus 1 is 1, right? Into 1 minus what is x1 value is minus 1 time f of x0. What is f of x0 is f of minus 1.5 was minus 7.969 divided by f of x1 minus f of x0. So f of x1, f of minus 1 is 1, right, minus f of x0, f of minus 1.5, that is minus minus plus 7.969. So what will be this value equals to? Okay, so that is minus 1.5 plus 7.969 divided by 8.969. So that is equals to 7 point, so this is minus here minus, right, because minus minus here become plus, so this plus, this minus, still minus. So that is equals to minus minus let's add this minus 6 9 4 9.469 divided by 8.969. What will be this value equals to? What will be this value equals to? So let me use the calculator. Okay, so what will be the value is 9.469 and 469 divided by 8.969. So that is equals to approximately 1.0557. Right. Now what you have to, so now you should be very careful regarding the next step. Okay, you must be very careful regarding the next step. Okay, so what is the next step here? So now first you need to evaluate f of x2. What is the value of f of x2? Means f of 1.0557. So that is equals to, if you substitute in the x power 5 and so on, okay, if you, so let me calculate. So that is 1.0557 to the power 5. This is with minus sign, right? Yeah. So here this is minus 1.0557. Okay, so this is minus 1.0557 to the power 5 plus minus 1.0557 to the power 3 plus 3, that is something like 0.51211. So 8 is there, so 5121, which is greater than 0. Now you recall, so what is f of x naught? That is f of minus 1.5, and that is something like minus 7.969, which is less than 0. Okay, and what is f of x1? F of x1 is f of minus 1. Okay, what is it? F of x1, what is the value is? That is equals to f of minus 1, that is equals to 1, which is greater than 0. So where does the root lies? So for the next step, what are the values? So that's important here. So now you can see you have three values: minus 1.5, minus 1, and 1.0557. Of 80 minutes. This is minus 1 point, right? Minus 1.0557. So you see, this is minus 1.0557 is strictly greater than 0. So where does the root lies here is between. So this will be, so minus 1 will be sitting on this side, right? So the root lies between here. So for the next step, okay, means for getting x3, what you require is x1 or x1 and x2. So I will call this as x1. So for the next step, so I will just, okay, so this is here. Okay, so what we have is, so what you have is f of minus 1 is greater than 0, f of minus 1.0557 is greater than 0 and f of minus 1.5 is less than 0. So for the case we are talking about n equals to 2, x3 is equals to, what was there, x3 is equals to x1 f of x2 minus x2 f of x1 divide by f of x2 minus f of x1. So what are the updated values here? So for this case you need to choose the pair where the root lies. So you have three values, so you can have, so Bolzano's theorem will be applied on which interval? So I will just say x1 equals to minus 1.5 and x2 equals to minus 1.0557, because here only the change of sign occurs. Okay, and then you find the value of this. So you already have the values of f of minus 1.5, that is f of x1 is something like minus 7.969, and what is the value of f of minus 1.0557? If you recall, that is equals to 0.5121. So these are the values required. Okay, these are the values required for evaluating x3. Okay, so that is equals to, so you have minus 1.5 times f of x2. So f of x2 is 0.5121 minus x2. x2 is minus 1.0557 times f of x1. So f of x1 is minus 7.969 divide by f of x2. f of x2 is 0.5121 minus f of x1 is minus 7.969. Okay, so these are the values here. Now if you evaluate, what will be the values? Okay, that is 1.5 into 0.5121, so that is equals to minus 0.7682. now here minus, here minus plus. Okay, so minus 1.0557 times 7.969, that is 8.4129 approximately. Okay, so and the denominator is 0.5121 plus 7.969, so that is 8. So that is 8.4811. So if you do solve this, so what is there is 0.7682 and 8.4129 0.7682 8.4129 divided by 8.4811, so that is equals to 1.0825. Now you look at f of minus 1.0825 now. Okay, so what it will be if I wish to say 1.0825 0.825 to the power 5 plus 1.8025 to the power 3 plus 3. So that is equals to 0.2451. So which is greater than 0? Okay, so which is greater than 0? So now for x4, if I just wish to just see, I wish to see now what will be for n equals to 3. Okay, for n equals to 3, you have x4 is equals to x2 f of x3 minus x3 f of x2 divided by f of x3 minus f of x2. But these x3 and x2 need to be updated. So you have three things. So you have minus 1.5 minus 1.0825 minus 1.05, okay, minus 1.0557. Now you can see there is no change of sign between minus 1.0825 and minus 1.0557. So what I will say, for my next step, my x2 will be minus 1.5 and x3 will be this. And then because f of x2 into f of x3 here, f of x2 into f of x3 need to be less than 0. And then you calculate the value of x4. So in this way you will proceed for the regular falsy method. Okay, right. So that rest you can do now, okay, easily. Now let's look at the problem number 11 now. Okay, so what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to determine the condition on the function g so that the given method will converge cubically to R if you started near R. So you have this. So the scheme is, if I was to write xn plus 1 is equals to xn plus f of xn times g of xn. Right. So now you should, when you are asked to find find the rate of convergence, or you are going to decide the rate of convergence will be some 3 or 4 or 5, then you are looking at the error and error term, okay. And other thing you need to keep in mind that you are going to look for Taylor series expansion about the point R. So now if you recall, okay, if you recall En plus 1, what is En is xn minus R. So the difference of approximation root, approximated root and exact root. So if you use this in the functional relation here, okay, then what you will get? So you subtract R both sides. So, okay, so what you will get is En plus 1 is equals to En plus f of En, xn is what? En plus R. So f of En plus R times g of En plus R. So you are free to impose the conditions on G. Okay, what we are aware that R is a simple 0 of f, and it is at least first time differentiable, one time differentiable, and f dash of R is non-zero. Okay, so we don't push any other more conditions on f. So we should be restricted to, we are allowed to impose the conditions on G. Okay, so for getting the cubical convergence, you need to go till En to the power q. So you are going to open this upon f of En plus r about the point r by using Taylor series expansion, and g of En plus r also about the point r. Okay, so f of En plus r, if you recall, so f of En plus r, and assume that only one time differentiable. So if about point r is f of r plus En time f dash of z. Okay, once we know that only one time differentiable or first derivative only continuous, may not be differentiable. Okay, so since f of r is 0, so this is equals to En time f dash of z. So here if you look at carefully, En is missing, En time f dash of z. Now moreover, if you look for the expansion of g of En plus r, so now see, En is already sitting in the product of f dash. So you are going to open g till En square power, right? So if you use the Taylor series expansion about the point r, so first term is g of r plus En times g dash of r plus En square by 2 factorial g second derivative at eta. What is eta is where eta lies between xn and r. Okay, so here eta lies between xn and r, right? Okay, so now because you have opened En till En square, because En is already sitting inside outside the product. Now you take En inside and collect the coefficients of En square and En cube, and what you require is cubical convergence, means this needs to be sustained. Okay, so means f dash of r is already given to be non-zero, right? It's already given to be non-zero. So g double dash r need to be non-zero so that this complete quantity will remain. Okay, if you impose the condition g double dash of r is 0, so you are going to look for higher convergence. Okay, higher convergence scheme. Okay, now see the En square coefficient, f dash of r times g dash of r. So f dash of r can never be 0 because its r is a simple 0. So only the possibility to make this En square coefficient to be 0 is g dash of r is 0. This is why this here g dash of r is 0. Now similarly you need to make the coefficient of En to be 0, means this coefficient will be 0 only if g of r is minus 1 by f dash of r. Okay, so with these conditions your derived scheme will converge cubically to r. Okay, right. So this is what about the problem number 11. Now regarding problem number 12, what it is given is f is continuously divisible in an open interval. Okay, and suppose that f has a fixed point s in this open interval. So what is the mean? So f is from I to I, okay, and f dash is continuous. This is what it's given. Okay, so okay, now mod of f dash of s is less than 1. So continuity gives you guarantee that it still remains f dash of s still remain, or you can say f dash of x still less than 1 for every s in okay, let me go to the next page. Okay, so what is given is, okay, so problem number 12 we are solving. Okay, so what is given is f from I to I is continuously differentiable, means f is belongs to C1 of I. Okay, I is an open interval. I is an open interval. Okay, and it is given that also f of s is s. S is a fixed point. Okay, further also even, okay, also moreover mod of f dash of s is strictly less than 1. So now that not that f dash is continuous means implies you certainly have mod f dash of x is less than 1 for every x belongs to s minus delta to s plus delta, which is a subset of I. Okay, which is a proper subset of I. So you can choose a delta. Okay, there exists are greater than 0, you can say, such that mod f dash of x is less than 1 for all x in this. Okay, now since okay since since f dash is continuous on, you can say this is I2. Okay, f dash is continuous on I2. I2 is closed interval, so this implies maximum of f dash x belongs to I2 exist. Okay, and let's say this is equals to lambda, and now see mod of f dash of x is less than 1 for every x in I2, so this must be less than 1. Now you can use mean value theorem, you can apply mean value theorem, okay, to show that f dash is to show that f is contraction mapping. So now x comma y, so if I recall, okay, if I recall the mean value theorem, f dash is continuous and differentiable, f is continuous and differentiable on I2, right? So you can apply the mean value theorem. Okay, so for x comma y belongs to I2, there exists z belongs to open interval x comma y such that f of x minus f of y divided by x minus y is equals to f dash of z. So apply the magnitude both sides, which is less than 1 or equals to or less than lambda, right? Less than equals to lambda. So this certainly implies f is contraction. So once f is contraction and f has a fixed point, okay, then the given functional iteration will definitely converge to that fixed point s. Okay, so you can refer that contraction mapping theorem for the same. Okay, thank you.